A poorly designed curriculum can lead to teacher frustration, or a lack of a curriculum can lead to even more teacher frustration. Teaching in high school here. There are some questions you have to ask yourself when implementing a new curriculum. The first thing is a needs assessment. What are my students' needs, and how can I assess them so that I can address them? At our university, we have something called a level placement test, and we place our students into intermediate level, S level, pre-intermediate, which I teach, A level, elementary, B level, and C level, and D level for absolute beginner. So we do that beforehand. And so therefore we know their ability and we can tailor the syllabus for them.
Is that all skills or just reading and speech?
This would be conversation, but I can go into that a little bit more. Level A, I do teach writing and reading, and if they're level A, they get placed into the writing and reading, the writing and reading level A class. All right. The next thing, and which is the whole presentation is about this, is determining goals and objectives. What are the purposes and intended outcomes of the course? Goals, what do you want them to be able to do by the end of the course? And the objectives, what do you want them to do day to day? Yeah? So week 2 and 3, what do you want students to do? What are your grammar foci? What are your vocabulary, lexical foci? What strategies do you want to teach them? What skills do you want to teach them from week to week? What will my students need to do or learn to achieve these goals? That would be our aims and objectives. Okay? The next part is conceptualizing content. What will be the backbone of what I teach? I wrote that twice. I thought I didn't do that. And what will I include in my syllabus? So depending upon the level, we would have a textbook and decide which grammar points that we want to cover and which chapters we want to cover. So that's basically that. Yeah. For instance, if you have intermediate students, you would not want to have a whole lesson about where are you from and introducing yourself to your friend. You would want to have things tailored for their level. Okay? Sorry. And the next thing, it would be selecting development materials and activities. Are you going to use a textbook? Are you going to use only teacher-generated material that you design? At our university, we use a textbook. It serves its purpose for conversation. It gives us a base to build on, so we can develop our own materials. So we decided to do that. And we have to decide what activities we're going to use to reinforce the grammatical points in the textbook. Also, you have to ask yourself, what is your role in the classroom? Are you going to be a lecturer? You're going to lecture to the students and they're not going to say anything? Probably not. Or are you going to be a facilitator where you design tasks that students have to do in the class? And you help them. You monitor their progress. And of course, what are my students' roles? What will they be doing in the classroom? Will they be listening passively or actively engaged in the classroom? We definitely want our students to be actively engaged in the classroom. A lot of these kind of run together. The next is organization of content and activities. How will I organize the content and activities? Will you be doing chapter 1 before chapter 2? In our writing class, we actually do the chapters out of order, and we have to decide which chapters that we want to include or take out. We only do 5 chapters per semester, so we had to decide, and there are like 12 chapters in the book, so we had to decide what we wanted to take out.
You're referring to an oral speech course?
Yes, my conversation class, yes.
What text?
Level A, sorry.
What text is it?
Breakthrough 2 by Macmillan. Did I write that on the board? I didn't put it in my presentation. All right. Breakthrough 2, Macmillan, can I pull it up? I don't know. I think that's it. Can you see? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a decent book, but really we design a lot of our own activities and we don't follow the book that closely. So It just gives us a base. That's all I need. Yes, where was that? Organization. Organization. Are you using it? How are you going to organize your activities? Are you going to do a form, grammatical practice? Are you going to do the speaking before? Yeah, do the speaking activity and do the focus on form. How are you going to organize your classes? This would be your procedure in the classroom, day to day. And of course, the focus of this presentation, how will I assess what my students have learned throughout the semester? And so in a conversation class, of course, you would probably be giving a speaking exam. What's an effective speaking exam? Yeah. We'll have different speaking exams we'll look at. And how will I assess the effectiveness of this course, the course that you were teaching? Is it effective or not? So in my case, at the end of every semester, my team gets together and we talk about what worked in the conversation class and what didn't, and we can decide what we want to do for the next semester. But personally, after every class, I sit down and write a diary saying what went right in my class, what went wrong in my class, and hopefully make it better for the next class. And of course, consideration of resources and constraints. What are the givens of my situation? I teach at a university, so that means I have a little bit more freedom than maybe some who are teaching in EPIC. We have a level placement test, which means we don't have mixed level classes. When I was teaching in high school, everything was just mixed together, and we had no syllabus. So, yes, you have to understand your situation and tailor your lessons and your class for that. Are your students cooperative or are they hostile? In the lower level classes, we have sports students, and they like to come to class only for the final exam. And yes, that can be difficult. It can be difficult to teach students like that. So yes, consideration. And also, do you have a PowerPoint? Do you have a projector? Do you have a whiteboard? I taught in classes, they only had a chalkboard. And they didn't like me to use the copy machine. So it was pretty tough. Okay. All right.
How many students in your class typically?
In conversation, maximum 24. Oh yes, consider how many students you have in your class. Many of you might have over 30, 40, 50. Anybody? I don't know. How many students you got, Will?
10.
I have to, professional. What you got? When planning a course, goals and objectives need to be established before you actually teach the course. You don't want to do it after you start teaching. That's not good. The goals need to be realizable, something they can actually accomplish. Not like write a essay on Shakespeare or something like that in a conversation class. And they need to be broken down into clear-cut objectives, broken down for what they need to do every single week. And I will show examples of that, all right? So I'd like to start our activity so we can talk more about objectives. So is it possible to make groups of 4? Groups of 4? 4? 3 or 4, preferably not 5. All right, we should be nearly done. I'd like to talk about the 4 cards. Activity thinking. Activity thinking, what do you think?
I like it.
It's good? Can somebody sum up really quickly what you think activity thinking is? Or you want me to do it?
Putting lessons into context and
Lessons into context.
trying to create situations that might be in real life. So, like, for example, role play.
A role play, yeah, a role play or a presentation of some sort.
And talking about
Daily topics. Yes, there are many different kinds of activities that we do day to day. But the important thing to remember is when you do an activity that it has clear-cut objectives and a means to why you're doing it, so that you can assess them later. Does it focus on grammar? Does it focus on the practical objectives of your course and the strategic? If it does not, or they're just doing it to do just for busy work, then it's not an effective activity. Make sure that your activities have objectives, mastery objectives. What about coverage thinking? Coverage thinking. Terry, thank you.
Coverage thinking only involves what's happening in the classroom that particular day, and is quite easily confused with overall what the course length thinking might be, like the objectives of the course. You don't want to confuse it with the objectives of the course. It's just what's going to be covered in class that day.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to learn a particular function, or they're going to learn to use whatever language in a particular situation. It's just that focus on that day, nothing outside of that.
Okay, just covering the material.
Covering the material.
Just covering the material, or across the whole course, covering as many chapters as possible too, yeah? I think about, in certain cases, they want you to do the whole book, just cover, and not actually see if the students understand what they're doing. Just throwing, here's something, here's another activity, here's another activity, here's another, okay, I did everything, good, I was successful.
Your students, on week 5, they know they're going to be studying a certain block of
Yes.
information or
Yeah, they have a certain block of
linguistic-
information for
linguistic goals for that particular week.
realistic
And you play into
objectives.
that. You play that. You don't change that. You don't
No.
flush it out.
No, well, I mean, no.
So they know that week 7 that's the that's the general purpose. of the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in their syllabus. They know what they'll be doing in week 7.
Oh, no problem. That's given day 1.
From day one, very, very beginning.
And other teachers at that same level doing the same.
Everybody does that. With variations on teacher style. But they have to have a syllabus with objectives listed in their syllabus. Okay, what about, what's the next one? Mastery, involvement, coverage. Okay.
Involvement?
Oh, yeah, we didn't do involvement. Let's do involvement. Somebody tell me what involvement is, or what you think involvement is. Involvement.
It's all about trust, right? Getting them to trust each other.
Yeah.
Making mistakes in front of each other.
Yes.
Not laughing at each other.
Yes, absolutely. Building rapport with the other students, building rapport with you. Very important stuff, but you can definitely go overboard with involvement. Let's have a scavenger hunt, and let's have a picnic outside. English is happy fun time, and you can go overboard in involvement, but it is very important for students to feel comfortable in the class. And lastly, what about mastery? What is mastery? Can somebody sum up mastery?
Not here now.
Learner outcomes,
Yes.
yeah. You want to know where you're going before you start driving there?
Yes, exactly.
You should be designing your curriculum, and more specifically every lesson, to bring you closer to those goals.
Yes, absolutely. You have objectives every day, and you want to use those objectives so you can realize your goal. And you will be giving your students activities to actually realize the objectives of your day and the goals of the course. Okay? All right. So the next thing we have is we have 4 different kinds of midterm exams. We have a self-introduction presentation. We have a role play. We have a PowerPoint presentation on families and fashion. And we have a conversation level B midterm exam, descriptions of basic questions, discuss a family member. So we have 4 kinds of questions. Consider the following: A, B, C, and D. Which type of thinking, coverage, activity, involvement, or mastery seems to dominate? So answer A, B, C, and D here with your group. Okay? Consider it. With your task,
No, I think.
consider A, B, C, and D. Do you have any questions? Yes. You know what to do? You have 4 different tasks, and you're going to answer these questions: A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, on this
Suggesting
These are the actual exams he's giving.
Do you need another one?
Each student wise.
Another sheet?
Why are we doing this?
That's the next program.
It could be actually all 4.
These are 4 different tasks. Yeah, this is midterm exam. We're looking at these and answering A, B, C, D. Which type of thinking? Is this a coverage, activity, involvement, or mastery? Looking at this.
And all of them are just one.
Well, they have multiple different elements. Decide which one is dominant.
I would give it to him 2 weeks ahead.
Which one's most prominent? That's one task. She has another task. He has another task.
80% different. Then we do it, actually, they can read off the card in class. And then if the fun is just the
Oh, it is really hot in
They
here.
do
We have
it.
air conditioning?
They don't memorize the conversation, they just use the general language.
Dying here.
And then I'm
What did I
grading,
say? Did it say 27?
I don't grade on accuracy, I grade on meaning. No accuracy.
Yeah, leave it there.
I can't handle this. I'm gonna pass out.
Honestly, I'm more about meaning than accuracy. Oh. If they're leaving off the S, I'm 4%
So you have 4 different activities.
I know.
And now we're deciding which one is dominant. It's coverage, the mastery, involvement, for each.
Basically,
And then we have some other questions. How could some of these tests be modified so they work more towards mastery? So we can orient
Yeah, well, not a master, but in 6 classes.
or make them tweak it so they're more involving, more fun,
You
more
have every day.
engaging. And what do you find most challenging? Materials covered, coming up with activities, involving students,
Yeah.
or students mastering specific objectives? How are you challenging? You have 4 different kinds of tasks for midterms.
Covered for that day, deal.
Everything good? We are looking at these different tasks and deciding which ones are coverage, dominant in coverage, activities, involvement, or mastery objectives, okay? And explain why you think so. Yeah, these are 4 different kinds of examples. And then you're going to see how can these modify and another type. There's 4 of them. Do you understand what to do? We have 4 different exams, we're going to decide which ones are dominant in coverage, activities, involvement, and mastery. So which one do you think it mostly is? Coverage, activities, involvement, mastery. That one? I don't know, maybe. Why do you think so? You need to tell me what covered is nice. And which task does how can you make it more master? How can you make it more
Another
involved?
is describing,
And what is most challenging for you? You decide.
this is involved.
And we'll do that for 205.
Carry on the conversation.
Right.
Instruction.
Yeah.
Homework assignment?
It's given right to you. It's given to you. I will give you a card. Here's a card.
Right.
So the teacher gives the student A and B a card, and so they're supposed to spontaneously.
Right.
But it's not just covered, I think it's in.
And well, it will be okay.
Interaction.
Yeah, yeah.
Interaction.
Right. Well, our super question, we kind of use a textbook verify the findings process. And it is.
I think it's based on. Yes, that's a real review. Are they using different patterns? Are they using different vocabulary? Grammatic regrets? Are they making eye contact? I think based on digital interactions.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about.
Did you easily ask? It's like looking at culture or organic language. So to me, that seems to be right. Most of it involved in. So I think that is
Oh, right.
It's kind of.
My wife said she should know everything. She doesn't know. She doesn't pay attention.
The coverage
Both sides of the
She says she doesn't think I have anything important to say. I don't have anything important to say. I'm sure.
it's actually good because I kind of mix these all together. Oh, okay. And mix these together. What I'm doing now, there's an amazing website. It's called ITFJ. It's conversation questions. Yeah, it's got thousands of questions. It's called, it's like my international MNT, so it's on the SO4 and it has a conversation question, so I'm having to go there and choose one topic. Like, they can't choose baseball, 40 is wrong. But I'm giving them the freedom to choose these. Sometimes I can choose one. Anyway, they download the questions, they read it, and then they write them down. Where person A says, oh, I've been thinking about social problems in Korea. And then B says, poverty in Korea, blah, blah, blah. These are free. And they're writing like 5 years out, incorporating just to have and then they're bringing that to the final.
We have good discussion going on.
Yeah, we do it in time.
Maybe I should stop it here. Stop it here. We'll have to stop it here because we are running out of time. We're running out of time. I have a question. Which?
Resource. I asked
Which activity? We're running out of time. It's going to end in she already showed me the sign. So if you want to have time for questions, let's just finish this up. Which activity do you think is dominant in involvement? Involvement. What is the dominant activity for involvement? Your opinion? I have my answer, but what's the involvement activity or examination?
Role play.
Oh, the role play. You think that's the involvement one?
It's kind of a hybrid.
Maybe there is a little bit of involvement there. Which one is the happiest, fun one for the students? The ones that are like, oh, we're gonna have a great time.
Presentation.
The PowerPoint presentation, families and fashion. Yeah, look at this. Speak to the audience. Don't memorize. Just use a little text. Look at the rubric. Sound natural. Interesting approach to the material. Just have fun, basically.
Considering you include fashion there.
Yeah. All you gotta do is talk about fashion. We don't care if you mastered anything. This is not something that we use at our university. Okay? Only one of these we use at our university. Which one is coverage? Which one is coverage, you think? Just covering as much material as possible for the exam.
Oh, yeah.
Which one?
Descriptions, basic questions.
Descriptions and basic questions. There is a lot of coverage there. Is that the most dominant one? I mean, there is a lot of coverage there, and it considers coverage. My opinion is the self-introduction presentation. Why did you decide to come to this university? So you have that focus. What are some of your hobbies? Tell me about your family. So we have lots of different things. You're covering the first half of the semester here. Tell me about your family members and Give me an indication how you plan to use English. That's everything. It's everything that you learn in the first half of the semester. And it's really, really boring. Really, really boring. Memorize. Memorize the presentation. And just tell me about it. Yeah? And I will check your draft for grammar or spelling errors before you give it. Yeah. That will be very heavy on the coverage, not much on the mastery, and 0 on involvement. What about activity? Activity.
Family reunion role play.
The family reunion role play. It's a good activity, but the grammar, the actual grammar, the structural objectives are not very clear, are not laid out. Practical objectives not so much, nor the strategic, and the rubric is not very, try to use the grammar from your book. It's important to use good grammar. All right, so you're saying that grammar is not really important, just try.
Are you saying that you're not paying activity?
No, I love activities, but
You're just
having,
critiquing this particular.
is saying nothing.
There's not enough structure.
There's nothing to
Because
focus
you didn't
on.
really critique the other ones, so I'm wondering if you're
Well, those don't have any.
making a commentary on activity.
They have no mastery. But review your homework. You will be graded on grammar. You're not really telling the students what they should do, what they should have mastered in the course. There's nothing there. So just try to use the grammar from your book. So which one is focusing on mastery? I'm not criticizing. I mean, it's a good activity, but it could be tweaked.
You're saying it needs some.
It needs a more effective rubric, and actually going back to the syllabus, reflecting what's on the syllabus, what they need to cover, what they should have mastered, structural and grammar. Okay, which one really focuses on the mastery? That would be the last one. Yes, the conversation level B midterm exam. Are you using the appropriate patterns of speaking in the right tense, reflected on the syllabus? Okay. And it highlights that you need to ask and answer a basic question about each other's boyfriend and girlfriend, which is strategic, practical. It covers everything. And it's also a decent activity, but maybe lacking in involvement. All right. So the activity that we use at our university, 2 minutes, would be this one. This one. We actually want our students to accomplish something, show us that they have mastered some grammatical forms, know how to have a conversation, read your partner, make small talk, show that they can carry on a basic conversation, describe people's appearances, their family members, their likes and dislikes. Actually doing that. This is what we use, and it has a rubric to analyze that. Okay, I have more, but do you have any questions? That's all I have. I have more, but time's up. So, any questions? Any questions? Yes, of course. I have extras. Any questions about objectives? No? That's it. Thank you very much.